All right, let's talk New Orleans Saints. Obviously, this team's had one heck of an offseason, major coaching change, major overall system change down in New Orleans. And of course, big news to the NFL draft with the addition of Tyler Shuck in the second round. All eyes have been on the quarterback position and the battle there between Rattler, Hayner involved, of course, and Shuck. But there's another under the radar rookie that, if you look between the lines and look at what's going on, the Saints are clearly very high on. In fact, they believe they have a special playmaker. We'll get to that reporting in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew. And this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, this is the time of year now that rookie mini camps, OTAs, and mandatory team mini camps have passed. You start to see teams kind of shake out their roster and make some adjustments that at the top level don't look like anything massive. But when you dig into the weeds, it's an indication of where they're trying to go and what players to really high on. And the Saints made a move a couple days ago that kind of highlights that. Let's pull the article first describing the move they made. Then we'll dig into what it means on the other side. This is courtesy of NBC Sports. New Orleans is moving on from a young running back. Per Mike Garofalo of NFL Media, the Saints are waiving Xavier Valade. Valade, 26, had been with New Orleans since midway through last season, signing with the club's practice squad. He did not appear in a game, but remained with the club on a futures deal in January. All right, this guy is not a big name guy. It's not like he's a guy that was actually expected to take Kamara's job or even seriously compete for legitimate playing time. So why would the Saints release him? At this point, the only reason to release any sort of player, and certainly a running back like this, when you're going into a training camp mindset, which obviously every team like the Saints are getting ready now, is because they want to give different young players a key look and give them a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities in training camp. So that way these young players can be ready to contribute during the regular season. And the one young running back on everyone's mind for the Saints that we talked about at the time has a potential to be a massive steal is Devin Neal out of Kansas. Let's shift over to our next table here to highlight kind of what I'm talking about. And this is sort of the Saints running back room, the way it sits right now. Of course, at the top of the list, you've got Alvin Kamara. He's going to be the starter. We all know that. Cam Akers, he's a veteran guy. He's past his prime. Nothing special there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Velus Jones-Jr., they're both busts, right? Have been. You pick them up on the cheap this offseason like the Saints did just to see if there's something in the tank, but neither of them have lived anywhere close to their hype coming out of college. They were busts in the past, they'll likely be busts going forward. They're not expected to have a serious impact. Miller, obviously talented guy, but injury concerns, lack of production. He's teetering dangerously close to being a bust. And Marcus Yarns was an undrafted free agent this season, undrafted free agent, a special teams guy, practice squad guy. And then that leaves us with Devin Neal there, potential draft steal. And if you look at everyone here except Alvin Kamara, there's a lot of guys who are like, yeah, we got past our prime, we got draft busts, we got guys with injury concerns. There's a lot of question marks at the running back position. I think the Saints here are clearing the deck to give Devin Neal as much opportunities, as much live reps to learn the offense, learn the schemes, learn the strategy during the preseason era and during the training camp era, so he is ready for the regular season, because I think he's going to be their number 2 running back. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. And if you look at Devin Neal in terms of his productivity and his analytics, which I think really can highlight the running back position, and compare him to his compatriots, his colleagues that were drafted out of the running back position in 2025, this past draft a couple months ago at this point, you can see he looks very favorably. In fact, let's go into our next chart here to highlight what I'm talking about. So this is Neal versus other 2025 running backs. In blue, you see their PFF overall grade, and in red, you see their PFF rushing grade. You've got Omarion Hampton. He was a first rounder, working left to right here. We've got Quinshawn Judkins. He's a second rounder. We got Caleb Johnson, who's a third rounder, really good player, by the way. Jarquez Hunter was a fourth rounder. And then Devin Neal, of course, was selected in the 6th round. And you can see as you work your way kind of first to fourth, you can see, the analytics, the overall and rushing grade slowly dips, which is what you would normally expect as you go from first, second round to like third, fourth, right? That's logical. That makes sense. But then something interesting happens when you look at Devin Neal. You see a spike back up. In fact, his analytics are on the same level as Hampton and Judkins here, first and second round picks, respectively. That's the Saints getting a guy in the 6th round who has the same kind of analytics as a first and second round guy, significantly better than Caleb Johnson and Jarquez Hunter, who are 3rd and 4th round guys. And by the way, that's not a dig on Hunter or Caleb Johnson. Those are really good players. I think they're going to be really nice for the Rams, Hunter, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Caleb Johnson. I think they're going to have really good careers. They're good players. That just speaks to how good on an analytical level Neal was his last season at Kansas. I think the Saints really honestly believe, and if you listen to kind of reporting around the edges here, it's clear the Saints believe they have a special player here in Devin Neal. And look, Kamara's their guy. Will a guy like Akers, for example, make the roster as the veteran guy to spell some carries? I think there's a strong chance of that happening. But if you look at the guy who's going to end up being the clear number two and maybe eventually even grow into the number one over time, I think it's Devin Neal. The running back room has opened up that opportunity for Neal. I think that's clearly what the Saints are doing here. And if you look at the data, it's obvious the Saints got a great player, not in the first round, not the second round, but have that same kind of value all the way in round 6. All right, Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this, but first, Saints fans, in the comment section below, we're talking running backs here. We're talking the Saints, so let us know. Who is, your opinion, the greatest running back in New Orleans Saints history? There's a lot of different names you go with. There's Deuce McAllister, who I think is my favorite at the top of the list. Kind of like sidebar here, I actually played Little League Baseball with his cousin one year, years and years ago. Bonkers, kind of weird coincidental thing, but he was my favorite growing up. I could see him in the early 2000s, did a lot of really good things. But what do you guys think? Do you think it's maybe you're a Reggie Bush guy, maybe you're a Kamara guy, maybe you go way back in the day? Give us your opinion on the best Saints running back of all time. Put them in the comment section below. But Mize, over to you now. What are your thoughts on Neal, the Saints, and just everything going on with this team right now?
Yeah, Nick, I think when we look at the Saints here and we look at what Neal brings to the table, I think there's a really interesting comparison because one thing we like to talk about, all right, when we look at a guy like Neal, a 6th-round pick, there's different ways that we get, how can someone can be, I think you like to say this all the time, anatomy of a steal. Like, how can they fit in? Well, you got guys that, statistically are very good, which Neal, as the chart shows, statistically, really great year last year. He slots into that category. We look at guys who, numbers wise, can they fit in? Do they put up good numbers? Are they productive in the college football realm? Well, yes, Neal has 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 2 straight 1,200-yard seasons, 2 years with 16 touchdowns each. So, yes, he's very, very productive. Really great guy in that aspect as well. But I think there's a third thing that is always like the caveat. Well, if they're not those two things, usually they're this thing. But Devin Neal is also that kind of guy as well. And it's, do they fit the scheme? Do they fit the offense that you want to have and how you use your running backs in the first place? And we look at Alvin Kamara and a guy like Alvin Kamara, what he brings to the table. What is Kamara? He's quick, he's shifty, he's good at catching the ball at the backfield, he's good at whatever you want him to do. He can make plays with the ball in his hand. He can make people miss and make short runs into long runs. And that's exactly the kind of guy that Devin Neal is. You look at Kamara, 5'10", 215. Look at Devin Neal, 5'11", 215. Very similar in size. We look at what Devin Neal brings to the table as far as how is he on 10-plus yard runs. 35 10-plus yard runs in college, 17 runs of 15-plus more on design runs. Is explosive. He can do good things with the ball in his hands. Does he make guys miss? Yes. 47 missed tackles forced last year. I think just overall, this is a guy that can fit that mold. Is he going to be the next Alvin Kamara? No, that's not the case. But when you have a guy that can come in and spell someone, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can have someone that's the complete polar opposite, like a huge guy that would maybe be like 6'2", 240 pounds, like Derrick Henry-esque type running back, run people over, do something good like that. Maybe like Gus Edwards, someone like that. Just guys that were bigger, stronger, can really bully people around. Or you can have someone that's very similar and still fits the mold. And I think that's what we get out of a guy like Devin Neal. He's a guy that is really good. He fits how the Saints want to use the running back. He's really good as far as what he brought to the table. He had a couple of good games catching the ball out of the backfield, specifically against Colorado, 80 yards out of the backfield and a touchdown. So doing some good things in that aspect. I think overall, this guy fits the Saints really well. He looks really good. And that's why I agree with you. I think this is a guy that's going to get significant touches because of how he slots into this offense and how he fits the overall theme of what the Saints want out of their running backs. Someone's very similar to someone who's been productive in the past for them. I think this is why this guy is a steal, and this is why he's going to be such a pivotal point on this offense this coming season.
And let's not forget Kellen Moore, of course, during his time with the Philadelphia Eagles and before that with the Dallas Cowboys, obviously with the Chargers stop in between for a season. But he's been a two running back guy with Dallas. He had Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. And obviously we saw with the Eagles last year, Saquon Barkley got a lot of attention. But there was a lot of running back by committee there in Philadelphia, depending on who had the hot hand. So we're looking at a lot of probably two running back rotation, maybe even three guys. With the Philadelphia Eagles, Kellen Moore did that in really good chunks over the course of his tenure in Philadelphia. A short tenure in Philly, but very productive tenure in Philly. I think Kamara will be the Saquon Barkley. He'll be the bell cow, but they're going to look for a lot of other carries to turn on to different running backs. And I think, like I mentioned in the opening, Akers probably just by his experience will be the guy leading that charge initially, but I'm expecting Neal to get a lot of opportunities, again, certainly during training camp and preseason to get him ready for the regular season. And as the regular season goes on, I see him supplanting Cam Akers as the number two running back in this offense. And he's going to get a lot of touches and a lot of opportunities. Because remember, the quarterback position, you're dealing with young guys, Rattler, Tyler Shuck, right? You're going to have a lot of situations where you're just going to want to run the football, and teams are going to know that. So you're going to have running backs that are really going to have to take the physicality. They're going to have some tough carries. You got to be able to, just put your head in there and get yards wherever you can. And this is a guy, since the day he arrived on Kansas, had that mentality. He's not one of these guys that's always a home run hitter, always trying to just, bounce outside to see if he can find some crazy crease or cutback. He is a downhill runner, taking what the defense gives him in every single opportunity and finishing runs. He was a team captain, was a leader in the locker room, hard worker, everything you want from a player. Devin Neal was for the Kansas Jayhawks. Oh, and by the way, he had back-to-back seasons, I think you mentioned this, of 16 rushing touchdowns. The New Orleans Saints last year, ironically enough, finished dead middle of the National Football League, 16th in rushing touchdowns. So you look at a guy like Neal to come in and be that red zone threat. Again, you've got young quarterbacks. Red zone gets harder as the field gets compressed. Reading defenses, got to make quick reads. You're a young quarterback or even a veteran quarterback. Easiest thing to do, hey, man, hand it off to a running back, let him power it in there for 6. Neal can come in and be that kind of guy at times for New Orleans. It's just a perfect fit all around for the Saints' current situation, for what Kellen Moore wants to do. They already have a number one in Alvin Kamara. And just, again, put a bow on this, they got Neal in the 6th round. When I look at his numbers, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, like you mentioned, in back-to-back 1,200-yard seasons, back-to-back 16 touchdowns, team captain, hard worker, great analytics. Him falling to the 6th round is just a shame. And look, the Saints obviously passed on him a number of times, but they got him in the end. And when it's all said and done, I think people will look at the addition of Devin Neal and say, yeah, listen, there were a lot of good running backs in this class, but in terms of the value received by the team, there may be nobody in the NFL that got more value out of the running back position when it's all said and done than the New Orleans Saints picking up Devin Neal.